A preliminary matter. This is
Brooke.
Brooke. Oh, this is Brooke Merigan, Chair. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Angus McLeod.
Here.
Mickey Rowland.
Here.
And staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Holly Backus.
Present.
Anticipated speakers, there are none. Good afternoon. The open meeting of Nantucket Historic Structures Advisory Board is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020 due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Nantucket Historic Structures Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, Brooke Merigan, the chair, notes otherwise. We're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Brooke Merigan, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motion. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right, call to order, audio recording announcement, members present, adoption of agenda. Someone want a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Rolling motions. Angus McLeod, you second that?
Yes.
All right. Approval of minutes from 8/17/2020. I think we discussed this last time. Did anybody see those minutes? It's a while ago. All right, well, I guess we'll try and.
So you all did not receive an email from Kadeem with the minutes?
I don't know. I honestly don't
Okay.
know. It was August
Okay.
17th.
Well, yeah, he sent them out. I will ask to re-forward them, resend.
Right.
All right. Thought they were done.
And so the first project is Michael Scott LLC, 17 Main Street, fenestration paint. Agent is Linda Williams.
Nobody's here, but that's okay. We have them here.
Holly, is this
Yes.
is just for new windows, right? And the color, and the question is that do we want SDLs or TDLs, and then the color, right?
Yes, so they did confirm that the second and third floor windows were already SDLs based on, I believe, these photos that were provided. Yeah, right here. So you all didn't get to see these. Here they are. So they're all wood.
They're all
And
TDLs.
What's that?
They're true divided lights.
I thought they were
17 Main Street. Which building is that?
It's the old Nobby shop.
Knobby shop.
Yeah, these are all true divided lights. Oh, I don't know what they're talking about.
Then that's me. Sorry. That could be. So these are
Yeah.
the photographs of the windows upstairs. I guess I think these are just showing the fact that they were previously, that they're a mishmash of previously newer windows, shall I say. They're not original.
I don't care if they change the windows. These are new windows. They can replace them if they want, but I still think they should be TDLs.
Yeah,
Then-
I agree. I mean, this is the core district.
It's Main Street.
It's Main Street.
So yeah.
This is not
I
a
believe
wet time
these
situation.
are the windows. This is what they're wanting to replace them with, Marvin, with the Nantucket profile, which are wood.
Yeah. Nope.
They're supposed to put a mock one in the 3rd floor, I believe. This was
Okay.
just some information that they provided about another company.
Yeah. So they don't have to do this because it's an existing structure. So there's no need to have insulated glass in the structure.
They just want it, I think.
And forget about Colby. Yeah. No, that's too prominent. It's too visible.
It doesn't get any more.
All right, Angus, do you have anything you would want to say?
That's it. It doesn't get any more prominent than that Main Street, Nantucket. Like,
All right,
right
Nick,
there.
you in agreement?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'd say
All right, so-
TDL. And I still like the Essex green color. I forget what they applied for, but it might have been black.
I believe the commission also liked the green as well. So you guys are all on the same page on that.
Okay.
Yeah, the application is, let's see, sash, Black Forest green. So, and doors are Black Forest green. So that hasn't changed.
Is that close to Essex green?
It's
Black
dark.
Forest green? Yes.
Darker.
Oh, is it?
I
Well,
think it's darker.
Essex green is really pretty dark. I mean,
Very dark.
it's almost
Essex
a black
is
green.
dark.
So this might be the equivalent.
This is darker.
Is it? All right. Well, as long as it's green and not black.
Well, I'm going to say, despite what they're applying for, I still would prefer Essex green because it's not
Okay.
it's not too black. You know, it's maybe theirs is going to look black because it's so dark.
All right, so Essex green and all TDL.
Yes, for me.
Alrighty. So 45 Hulbert. This is demolition, move off. Is there any reason to look at this without looking at the other stuff? I mean, have we already approved that?
I think we still need to look at both applications.
Holly, is this track, is the new design tracking with the demolition? Is that why we're
Yes.
looking?
Yes.
It is, but they're
Yes,
reviewing
they are
them both.
tracking together.
Okay, so
Yes.
let's look.
Yeah.
Our comments probably still stand for the demo.
So here's the new
Okay.
It has revisions.
All right.
You know, Holly, could you look at their minutes? Could you put those on the screen from the previous meeting? And I'm just saying this because everybody, most of the board seem to agree with us that the house should not be demoed, except that Ray made a comment at the end. It's the last speaker. There it is. So Ray says, in his opinion, this is one of the ugliest buildings on Brant Point. If someone drew this up today as a new house, there is no way the HTC would approve it. There are simple elements, but not such that makes it a divine creation. So I think he's sort of saying, well, I think we can do better, despite how old this house is. So I'd like to reiterate that, you know, we're preserving houses because they're historic, not because they're attractive.
So there's got to be another ugly building out there that is historic that people have kept.
Well, you know, I thought of that, Brooke, and I thought, you know, Legion Hall is not terribly attractive, but we're not going to advocate tearing it down and putting something more attractive there. But that's a stretch. But still, I think that's not a good reason to tear down a building, is because you think you can design something better.
Well, and also I think we expressed, you know, the possibility of enhancing it so that you would make use of the historic building and make it more attractive. And
Exactly.
it's not necessary to demolish in order to have a more attractive building there.
Definitely. I agree with that.
I agree.
Yeah, so Holly, I think you need to reiterate that we think they can take the existing building and enhance it, make it more attractive, rather than tearing it down.
All right. Anything further to add, Angus?
Not as far as the demo.
Okay. All right. So looking at the proposed structure,
That's this.
doesn't look like it changed too much. They added chimneys. Little cutification.
The changes to me are pretty superficial. I feel like I'm looking at the same thing again. The windows did get a bit larger, but there really isn't a clear hierarchy of masses here. The quote unquote secondary mass to the west of the, you know, the main front structure is so close to the scale, size, shape of the adjacent mass that it looks more like a miss than a difference. It's there. I don't think that there's enough height difference or scale difference in it to look like a secondary mass. And facing the water, it's just, if you scroll down to the sort of the inspiration photo of what's acceptable to the HDC, because it was approved, there was another gambrel, there's a photograph below the plans. There's so much more push and pull with the surfaces. Yeah, that photo, if you can expand on that. There's a porch where the whole face is recessed underneath the porch, except for the bay window that pops out forward of it. So there's a lot more texture in it. And the dormers are different shapes and sizes with space in between them, and some are set back and some are forward. So that even though there's a lot of window, a lot of exposure, there's a rhythm to it, and it's not a monolith like what is proposed. And in general, I would say if this really comes down to taking a historic structure away, if they can't figure out a way to enhance it to the degree that it would sit better on the site, a replacement, it would be preferable to see something that would remind everybody of what would have been built there back in the day. And I don't believe this is it.
Yeah, I'll add to that. That's good, Angus. I think that's all a good way to express it. I think there's just not enough hierarchy, and that secondary mass needs to be reduced in scale, enough to make it look different. Another one of my bigger concerns with this one is the front door. When you look at that elevation, which is the south elevation, you see the front door looks like it's in the main mass. But now look at the elevation right below it. You can see that the front door is actually in that little side additive mass. It's that little porch roofed area. So the front door isn't even in the main mass of the building any longer. And I think part of the problem is that the main mass isn't big enough. It's got to be, maybe that roof line needs to extend to the left further to make it more of a significant main mass, because right now the main mass is entirely hidden behind the addition toward Holbert Avenue. You don't even see the main mass from Holbert. And the front door gets totally pushed and pulled into the wrong spot. It's no longer the front of the building. It looks like the back of the building, which, some might argue they did on Holbert Avenue. But when you look at the front, of this building or the water side, that certainly isn't the front of the building. So it's got to be somewhere. There is no front.
Mickey, I agree. I mean, the waterfront properties, they are oriented towards the water, but that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a distinct and somewhat celebrated front door that is visible from the street. And this reads more as a back door.
Yes.
And not enough.
That's exactly it. It looked like a back door.
I mean, to expand on Mickey's point, if they are treating this as a back door, then certainly the Hulbert Ave side should read more as the front of the building. But like you said, this reads as neither. So the existing building actually has a proper front door and a proper entry. They managed to do it with that building.
Right.
I don't see why it's not possible with this one. All right, well, it does seem like we're all on the same page.
Mr. Chair, just wanted to let you know, looks like Luke has popped in the meeting.
Okay. Hi, Luke.
Yeah, I didn't, I just actually caught the end of your conversations.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think we're just on a different page, but I respect your comments as you may wish to present them to the HGC.
All right.
Luke.
Would anybody like to add anything further?
I just wanted to point out to Luke that this inspiration photo of an existing structure down there is something that needs to be looked at.
All right.
Well, the reason I originally brought that up, again, this is, you know, it's not as though we have an empty lot to work with. We're, as you know, entirely confined by the existing shape of the building and not, you know, moving further out than the limitations of the conservation's 50-foot line. So if I had a giant, you know, blank sheet of a lot to work with, I might have come up with something different. But the parameters were such that they're really, for example, I can't move that front door any further to the left. That front door is as far to the left as it could possibly go. Now, if I remove the wing in its entirety that goes towards Hulbert Avenue, and I remove all the program that's in front of what's the main mast, then I could accomplish your goal of having a simple mast. But the existing structure, you know, which has, you know, sort of already sets the tone of the general shape of the building. And I don't want to belabor a point that I've already made, but, you know, the existing, in my opinion, the historic merit of this building is nothing but emotional, or what do you call it?
Nostalgia?
Sentimental, because based on the criteria that you may put to this existing building, it meets none of the HGC guidelines, not one. And I think you might agree that if this was an empty lot and I brought this building to you, you would be inclined to, I can't imagine that the circumstances in which you would allow it as an existing building to be allowed to be put there as a new building. So back to the front, you know, the aspect of the front door and what I presented to you all, I think in the first meeting in HGC following, was that as a process of evolution, which all of Nantucket's buildings go through, and often takes different forms and shapes, and often in areas that are outside the old historic district, more so than others, they take on a more organic form to meet the needs of the owners' wishes to expand over time. And if you take Hulbert Avenue as an example, the eclectic architecture, the vernacular, there's no locked in, you know, outstanding vernacular there. I mean, all of the old buildings were moved. The building of merit on this property was moved to Willard Street. And it ironically was moved in order to max out what would have surely been thought of in its day, an outrageously tall and big building. And that, you know, again, brings me back to my concept of maybe what's across the street or in a few other places where the gambrel is a suitable waterside structure for, and certainly in that, you know, that sort of alludes to shingle style architecture, which is a contributing style of ocean waterfront buildings in and around that period. This building is not a shingle, it doesn't have a shingle style home, feel to it. And so again, the front door is the basis of how the front door moved. I would ask you to consider over time, after, through generations, as people expanded their home. And we all have to think about how homes naturally grow. They don't grow according, to the guidelines in history. They grew based on individuals' needs and common sense. And the common sense in this case would have said the front door was on the original old house of the proposed gambrel. But then as they moved back and were confined by limitations, it shifted along the front porch and out along that front porch. It just shifted along there as the program filled. And that's how conceptually I was could rationalize. It was the only rationalization of a new building on this property that worked with the really rigid perimeter and restrictions of the 50-foot on Holbert side that gave me any wiggle room. I mean, that if you go back to that front elevation, that is no that's no architectural gem. That is a mess and I suspect that they built it from the inside out, and that because of the amount of volume that is on the second floor is far and I'm talking about the main mass there, not the wing coming back, is greater than ours, and it has 4 full-blown bedrooms on the ocean side, and they're all big, and that's why the building takes such a bizarre and atypical, completely unapprovable shape. They gave no consideration to the exterior. They gave no consideration to the history of what was then along that bluff, along that water edge. So again, what I feel like I've accomplished is I brought back a more sensitive, historic looking building. It may not be perfect, but compared to this one, it's a heck of a lot closer to approvable, even if you don't like the front door. And because and I suppose that's what I want you to keep in mind. At the end of the day, you group, you and maybe a few others may feel like there's a loss in that old house has disappeared, but and believe me, I respect what you do. I believe in preservation, architecture in the old historic district. And I would even believe in it if what's on Willard Street now was on this property, I wouldn't be coming before you and asking you to demo it and bringing it back. That would be absurd. I have a set of values that I try and maintain through my career on Nantucket, and as I go on, that is consistent. And I'm not interested in these giant houses for the sake of being giant and in your face at all. So where there's room. So again, coming back to being able to work with what I have and making the architecture as pleasing as possible in the flood zone, which is right off the bat is a difficult task because you're up in the air 6 feet. This is a 24-foot high house. If this house was in Sconset, and it would fit in Sconset, and there are likely homes like this in Sconset. a 24, it's a 24-foot home, 20-foot fight, 20-foot, excuse me. I suppose I would just ask you to consider, you know, its impact from this standpoint. I've tried to present to you as a rationale for my
So Luke,
yeah.
hi. I think at least one of the concerns, and maybe, and I think Angus and Mickey would agree to some extent, is if there was a way of making this door, I mean, even in its current location, if there was a way to maybe change the massing so that it reads more as a front door, I think that would help a little bit. I think that's really kind of, you know, what's going on here is it just does not feel like a proper entry. Now, I definitely understand what you're saying about the existing structure and that not being any great shakes in terms of a front door. I get that, but it still is in the main mass and it still addresses the street. Not asking you to change the massing, but there's got to be another way to make this read a little bit more strongly as the front.
Like I said, yeah, you guys, again, I without, if you look at that 50-foot line there on the left, there is no way to go. The only thing that the client can do is essentially remove almost in its entirety the wing coming back. That's it. So,
Well, Luke, you know, just to speak to that point, that wing coming toward Pulbert Avenue used to be smaller. The original one is smaller than the one that you're proposing. And when you look at the old building, you can see that gave a lot more room for the front door and the mass, you know, that it sits in. Your wing really obliterates the main mass. You can't even see the main mass behind the width of the the new wing going towards Pulbert. So that's new space, and I know you're trying to maximize the amount of footprint you got, and that's the only place to really add anything. But you've created that problem. It's not there to begin with. If you made that wing narrower, you'd have more of the main mass visible as it does right now. So
Could you have a gambrel gable facing Hulbert Avenue? There's quite a bit of that down there, and then pull it over the porch as an L into the main mass. I mean, I think.
Nikki, I think you have a good point as far as the addition that was put onto the original, or, you know, the existing house was just a smaller scale, yet they fit 2 bedrooms deep. And what you have there is taking up more room for 1 bedroom deep. And there was, with the original structure, there was just like, there was a whole mass, you know, where, you know, this whole part was the whole building. And it, yes, this addition was awkward, but it didn't literally cross over the front door. And yeah, I mean, the Willard Street house would be preferable to this. And I personally would much rather see some sort of version of the original house in memory of what was there, rather than sort of a third idea going here. This is just, you know, that was a much simpler style, you know, of what was there before. I feel like there are choices in the design here that I mean, if we're talking about what's acceptable and as far as guidelines, the back with all the mold windows and the 2nd-story decks and the really none of those things are in the guidelines. So it's, if the back of the house is what is facing Holbert, then the front of the house is covered with porches and French doors and way too much mold glazing. And I mean, I think at some point you have to decide what's the front, what's the back, and then follow the guidelines for that. And I feel like it's kind of picking and choosing and taking what you want from where. Yeah, I have a lot of issues with it.
Could you make the main mass a little bit wider so that it could reach out and actually create a space for a proper front door?
No, I can't because of the 50-foot line.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think we've all said our piece. Thank you, Luke. And I think that as a narrative board, we can only do so much, but certainly you'll be able to take your case to the HTC, and maybe we'll see you again on this, and maybe we won't. So,
Okay.
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Okay, thank you.
so I think that's all, right?
Yep.
Yes, yes. And
Nikki,
I
did
just
you-
wanted to let you all know that the under other business that camp registration will be coming soon. So if you have not put that on your calendar, please do. The National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, I actually was on a call last Friday, and it was really good with all the trainers, and it's going to bring a lot of benefit to you all and the rest of the commissioners. So
And when is
I'm
this
excited.
again? Sorry, I know you told us like 5 different times, but
That's okay. That's why I'm continually doing that. November 6th and 13th. There'll be 3 hours. They're both Fridays. So it'll be probably 9 o'clock to noon on Friday, with 6 different topics. Looking forward to having that, but I'll be sending an email out here shortly to make sure who is interested, and I can make sure I have that information available to you all. But I can't wait. This is good stuff, and they're excited too.
very good. Thank you. And before we go, Mr. Rowland, did you want to speak to anything in particular?
Sure, I'll mention a couple things. Thank you, Brooke. Yeah, Holly, I'm probably going to be attending the meeting this evening because I want to,
Okay.
there's a couple of projects at least that are coming up that were not on our agenda.
Yes.
You know, to name them specifically, 38 Prospect and 5 South Water Street. And
Yes.
to be honest, I don't think they should be going to the HDC this evening because they skipped us. You know, normally we would have a, go ahead.
I just want on that point, you know, and I have to go by what is submitted, and I rely on both Kathy and Kadeem. We have the open meeting law requirements where the agenda has to be posted, and when they receive the application, and Brooke can attest to this, the deadline for that, they don't line up. So whatever they have in front of them for old business is what they have. They can't just put it on the agenda. That the applicant has to submit or resubmit in that case. So it is difficult at times to have everything on the agenda. What I've also told Wisconsin Advisory, because we talked a little bit about this, is if there's something that you all have comments on that not necessarily is before you on your agenda, or is something else entirely that you all have comments on, you can do what you're going to be doing and attend the meeting, or simply send me an email and I will make sure they're read on the record. I try to let the chair know, hey, I got comments. I will let them know, I've done it before, hey, they didn't get to meet, but I received comments, here they are. And they do take them in. It's just quirky of how it all works with open meeting law and their deadlines. So.
Well, when these come up this evening, could you let the chairman, Ray, know that I'll be making my own individual comments
Absolutely.
with respect
Yep.
to the HSAB. And,
Yep.
going forward, can't we sort of make this a policy that if, we should be given, and same with Sconset Advisory, they should be given an opportunity to weigh in on these projects before the board reviews them. And if the schedules for application deadlines and the meeting posting deadlines conflict, then maybe that just means that the application gets reviewed at the following meeting to give us a chance to weigh in, because otherwise we just get overlooked.
I'm not going to make that policy. I can tell you
No,
that. That's above my
I know
head.
this isn't up to you.
Right.
Okay.
But I understand your concerns on that wholeheartedly. You know, you're going to have a lot of upset agents, and they're trying to get their project reviewed and done accordingly. But I agree, it would have to be a policy, and it would have to be a policy that the HDC, the commissioners themselves, come up with. So definitely, if that's something that you all are strong on, then you'd have to take that up with the commission themselves and see if that's something. I don't know, you want to reach out to the chair. But no, I get it. I mean, I've tried to do the best of providing the comments to them all the time when I have them. Let them know, hey, HSAB wants to see this back. This is, important. So, and I try to, as you all are aware, this isn't the only thing I do. And here lately, we've had Thursday meetings because these 5-hour meetings on Monday night, and all the agendas have this is new business, but we also have old business that was carried over from the previous week. It's just a ongoing cycle with the amount of applications. Kathy does, as the land use specialist for the HDC, she does a monthly report. And the amount of applications that came through the office for this past month alone was just astronomical. I think probably the largest amount in a long, long time. And I don't think people realize that. And it really puts into perspective, what is going on, and all the different projects that everybody's is working on. But yeah, it's definitely, I understand completely.
So
I can say.
what would you recommend would be the best procedure to get that request to the HDC so they could think about it anyway?
Maybe send an email to the chair as a group. We HSAB would like to bring this as a policy before the HDC, so they can make that call. Sconset Advisory are kind of in a similar boat with wanting, expansion of the boundary. I know you all have expanded more than what the old historic district is, which is for, I think we all realize the old historic district and the zoning doesn't necessarily match up, and we have some areas, and I know the chair, we actually mentioned that last week when we were looking at that pool that you all looked at. Brought it to the commission's attention that, here's something that is in the old historic district, and yet it's zoned RH and our ROH, and someday those definitely should match up, especially with those zonings that are going to be phased out with the master plan down the road. But so you both are kind of in the same boat right now of things that you're wanting to do. And I would say just reach out to the chair and see how he wants to handle it. You all probably realize that they have previously scheduled like organizational meetings every whenever they have a month of 5 weeks. And I think the next one is not until December. And that's probably the only time I know the historical commission will be able to meet with them. So, their schedule is jam-packed, but if this is something that I think the chair is willing to kind of put to the forefront and, vet it through him, and then of course he brings it to his commission, then maybe it's something that he would want to have higher up on the agenda or beforehand. But that, just get it out there. ask him about it and see what would be the best bet to move forward with that. Would be my recommendation.
So, Chair, maybe I'll draft a letter and circulate it. Can I do that? This is the procedural thing, not about applications. I can circulate a letter that we can all look at and edit, and then submit.
present it to Ray.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me. I mean,
Okay.
this is all new. It's all new to me.
Yeah,
No.
We went through the same thing with Wisconsin Advisory, and I think it might make sense for us to make a petition altogether, you know, because we have the same concerns.
All right, well, I'll try to draft a letter, and then maybe I'll just send it to you, Holly, and you can distribute it to the various boards if they all want to agree or disagree on, regarding
That's
that.
fine.
Okay, so I'll send directly to Holly. Good.
All right. Is there any other discussion?
Holly, do you
Nope,
mind
just
reading
need.
what our comments
yep.
are for this last, for 45 Holbert Avenue before we, I was about to make a motion for
Absolutely.
approval, but I want to know what I'm approving.
Absolutely. So on the demo, take the existing, enhance it rather than tear it down. Most of the comments obviously were on the new design. Let's see.
Holly,
Changes are superficial, not enough.
can I,
Yep.
regarding the demo application,
Yes.
can I just throw in just a sort of a quick phrase maybe that you could use, that, you know,
Sure.
that we're preserving the houses because they're historic, not because we don't like the way they look.
Yes.
Or we feel
I
we
did
can do
actually
better.
write that.
Okay.
Preserving because they're historic and not necessarily because they're attractive. And you brought up a good point. I almost said it, but I didn't. I think I heard many times saying, well, you know, if you wanted to design this building now, you wouldn't be able to. Well, yeah, because it was built before design. The building went Nantucket mine, so of course. So that's a moot point on my end. But anyway,
that's not.
So as far as the new, no, it's not a good argument. That was definitely the point. And I think you all made a comment about how this structure is, or well, it's been said that this new structure is supposed to show the progress or process of evolution of the building. Changes are superficial, not enough. With the example in the photo that was provided, it has a push and pull with a rhythm. Should have celebrated the front door. Not enough hierarchy. Main or front door in the side. Additive mass is not in the main mass. Main mass is not big enough. It's hidden. The example building, or the existing building, excuse me, has a proper front door. Change massing so front door reads a front door. And in the existing structure, the wing used to be smaller, which I appreciate you guys bringing that up. And it gave room for a front door. I think they really need to address that. Gambrel facing Hulbert was a recommendation, and face over the porch. That was Brooke, which I like that too. What was there was simpler. What is the front versus the back? And you're picking and choosing. Those are comments.
How's that sound to you, Mr. McLeod?
It sounds like you got it pretty much. Yeah, and just if there is going to be a replacement for this house, you know, why not have something that reads more as something from the turn of the century or the 20s when this area was developed rather than now. And of all the modern things that are down there, like this feels like the most monolithic, and I don't think it meets guidelines as far as the as far as the percentage of fenestration and the massing of it. And the guidelines, it's really clear about hierarchy and massing, and this I
Yes,
don't think that meets
an opportunity to do a 1920 structure is, I mean, this lot is screaming for that.
And they were boxy, so you can fit a lot in. I mean, it's not like they can't get their program in that.
Yeah.
So
Definitely could make that wing smaller. For sure.
All right, so,
I'll make a motion to approve comments.
all right, Angus has made a motion to approve the comments. Any seconds?
Second.
Mickey Rowland has seconded that motion. All right, all those in favor, Mr. Rowland,
Aye.
Mr. McLeod,
Aye.
chair is in favor. All right, a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
Motion.
Mickey got you first. Okay, say that again.
I'll second.
All right. So Mr. Rowland has made a motion to adjourn. Mr. McLeod has seconded that motion. All those in favor, Mr. McLeod,
Aye.
Mr. Rowland,
Aye.
chairs in favor. That's it.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Okay.
Holly.
Thank you, Holly.